Joining me now is Todd, moderator of NBC's Meet the Press. Good morning, Chuck.
Good morning, Christy.
Fulton County DA Fani Willis gave a possible end-of-summer timeline for charges in the 2020 election probe against former President Donald Trump. That announcement as Mr. Trump has scheduled a trip to Georgia for the state's Republican convention. Is it a good idea for Mr. Trump to return to a state in which he's being investigated? He clearly has a point to make by coming here. So what's his strategy?
Well, honestly, for any other politician, I would say it's a disaster to do something like that. Donald Trump is somebody that looks at something that's a potential crisis for him, and he always heads onto it. So, and frankly, what hurts literally any other politician doesn't always seem to hurt him, at least in the moment. But look, I think he's certainly testing the strength that he seems to have with his supporters, where he can convince them that none of this stuff matters in the long run. Look, I think I think it puts a lot of Georgia Republicans in a difficult place. I think if you see the former president there, I doubt you'll see the current governor, and I doubt you'll see some of other Republican leaders, because this is going to become a complicated potential story. It isn't just former President Trump who could get indicted. There's a lot on the whole fake elector situation. There's a lot of members of the Georgia Republican Party that themselves have been under investigation or have been interviewed over this thing. So I imagine, to at least those in Georgia Republican circles who would like to move on from Trump, and the Georgia Republican Party arguably did pretty well in doing that in 2022. I don't know if the former president's presence at the Georgia Republican Party event is going to be fully welcomed.
Definitely a split, since Governor Kemp has already announced he does not plan to attend. So you're right. This morning you have North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper as a guest. The majority Republican General Assembly, though, in North Carolina voted to override the governor's veto on a 12-week abortion ban, meaning now the ban will begin in July. So is this new timeline, the 12 weeks instead of 6 weeks, something Republicans hope they maybe can get more support among middle-of-the-road voters?
Well, I think that in North Carolina, I mean, it is a state that is much more competitive. It really is a fairly evenly divided state, slight Republican lean to it, very similar to Georgia, right? It's fairly evenly divided with a slight lean to the right. And so perhaps, right, some thought 15 weeks was, some in the Republican Party believe 15 weeks is probably the what they can get behind that gives them the least amount of pushback from the middle. It is not still a popular position. It is still an unpopular position, but it's less unpopular than 6 weeks or even 12 weeks. I think the more significant thing about North Carolina is look at the rest of the South, right? So North Carolina's at 12 weeks, and there's also some impediments. Even within that 12 weeks, you have to see a doctor within 72 hours as well. So there is a little extra impediment there. But you basically either got to go to Chicago in the Midwest or Washington, D.C. or New York on the East Coast, because the rest of the South is about 8 weeks or less now, I think, when it comes to abortion, other than North Carolina at 12.
All right, Chuck, thanks so much.